Let's get more now, though, on the claims that the US has shot down an Iranian drone above the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has denied this. A little earlier, Iranian-affiliated broadcaster Press TV showed this footage supplied by Iran's Revolutionary Guard. It claims the video proves the US did not shoot down the drone and that it continued to carry out its surveillance operation unimpeded. Well, let's talk to Behnam Taleblu, who's a senior fellow at the think tank, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, who joins us from Washington. Welcome to you. Thanks very much for being with us. What do you make of this game of claim and counterclaim that's going on between Iran and the US today?
Well, great to be with you, and thanks for having me. It's Iran essentially moving the game of escalation in the Gulf to a political escalation over media narrative right now. You know, by releasing the video, Iran is showing, I think, one thing, that it's good at Photoshop, it's good at releasing videos that have been captured earlier at an opportune political moment. It's done this before, actually, with respect to buzzing the decks of other American vessels in the Persian Gulf and in the Strait of Hormuz. So I think the Iranians are looking for a face-saving way to claim that their drone was not brought down. In fact, there are many reports now circulating in the U.S. that say that the drone was brought down through electronic warfare means without actually having to fire a single shot. So the Iranians are looking for a way to save face, recalibrate, and continue this larger game of graduated escalation with Washington. And this narrative about having America having shot its own drone, which is what the deputy foreign minister of Iran just said, is beginning to take hold in the Iranian media space.
The aim, as we were just talking about with our correspondent from the Persian service, is to force America to come back to the table, to renegotiate or to certainly restart talks about the nuclear deal, bringing in other issues about Iran's involvement in other conflicts in the region. Does that now look like that is going to happen?
Well, actually, I would frame that issue a little bit differently. I think Iran is trying to force Washington to return to the same quote-unquote fatally flawed JCPOA nuclear deal. It's Washington whose policy has been to have a bigger, broader, better deal to discuss this broader range of issues. This Iranian new strategy that we've seen in place, which is risk-tolerant and in fact quite costly, is this game of chicken, this graduated escalation in the region, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Syria, and Lebanon, in the world of this missile testing and missile transferring cyberspace. This entirely risk-tolerant approach is to get Washington to cease the max pressure campaign and come and return to the JCPOA nuclear deal and lose the previous request it had for Iran to change its behavior. And if Washington does give sanctions relief before they do achieve a bigger, broader, better deal, then that would have just been a unilateral concession.
The concern amongst both nations and around the world is that these minor escalations may inevitably end up in something far more serious that does tip the two countries into war. Do you feel that we are moving to that point, or is that too much of an exaggeration?
It's something really in between. I think there's always the chance of accidental escalation, especially when two adversaries operate in such close proximity with one another for such a sustained period of time, as well as countries like Iran and the U.S., which have a history of miscommunication. But that being said, this only should heighten the resolve of the U.S. and international partners that support the U.S. goals to issue clear red lines, to not flinch in the face of the first threat by Iran, and to make sure that the regime knows that there is a diplomatic option, and in fact that there is an off-ramp. While you talked about the 12 points that Secretary Pompeo has raised, which is this concern about Iran's foreign and security policy that the U.S. wants addressed, what the U.S. is willing to offer in exchange for that is full political and diplomatic and economic normalization. That's something that the Iranians should be able to test and take to the table.
OK, very interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much for your analysis here on BBC World News.